Welcome to the LSI Behind the Wind podcast. My name's Sean Slatter. For 30 years, I've dedicated my life to the science of business development. I've seen the impact of our work, which has evolved into both economic development and now social impact. Over the last several months, as we have launched this new podcast and have heard from a lot of members of our team around the country and around the world, and also as we have been celebrating our 50-year anniversary, we've heard from a lot of people that have found our podcast and have said really great things about it. And I'm excited for this media. It's something that I really didn't understand or used prior to this. And we've had a lot of really positive feedback. And some of the feedback that we've had is that our contacts and our listeners have said that my conversation with Summer Green was their favorite. And I think it's really a testament to my long relationship with Summer and how Summer and I work together. And so I've asked her to join me again today to talk about the last 30 years of LSI's history as we've celebrated and we're continuing to celebrate our 50-year anniversary. I wanted to have this similar discussion that Summer and I had in our first episode, where we talked about the early history of LSI, that she and I talk about the last 30 years of LSI and then what we see going forward. I want to talk about our new strategy, which we have been working together collectively for a couple of years now and plan to roll this out at the 1st of January of this year. So Summer, thanks for being with me again. And I'm so excited that we've had so many positive comments about our discussion in that first episode. And it was an interesting time that, as I think I mentioned, you and I had been looking at a lot of the historical documents of LSI. You had a lot of questions. You kept saying, what about this? Or who is this individual? And it led to this discussion that we had a few months ago when we opened this up. What are your thoughts behind that?
Well, hi, Sean. Thanks for having me again. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I think that like I said in my last time that we had this conversation, I feel like you and I could talk about the history in multiple episodes, because one or two episodes does not give the history or the legacy justice. There is a really, really good story to LSI, and it's one that I've kind of learned over the last couple of years, but it's been so impactful for me, just not only in my own position and my job here, but it's helped me connect the dots to who you are and how, you run the business and what some of your goals and visions are for this business. It all ties back to the history. So for that, it's kind of come full circle for me.
So when we opened this up and we'd been talking about doing a podcast for some time, like I said, it wasn't really something that I'd thought about previously, but because we had been doing these VTCs, these video conferences with our team for 2 years, many members of our team had encouraged us to launch this podcast, and Lauren and Jake and all of the members of our team that have helped propel this to what it is now, I think has been exciting. Have you been surprised by the response that this has received and the interest and feedback we've received on, especially our discussions?
Yeah, I have received really good feedback from people, our workforce and people on the outside. And I do think it's a new segment of communication for us, but I think we have good people that are leading this podcast and know how to get our message out. So it's far reaching. And I have heard from multiple people that, it's been very informational, and it's been kind of fun and interesting to hear you and hear all the people that you've talked to. So I'm really excited for it. And the thing about, this podcast is we live in a digital environment now. That is how we are going to have to start sharing and communicating with people really is in the digital landscape. So I hope that we can keep doing bigger and better things like this.
So many people who I haven't talked with for years have called me or sent me a text or emailed me and said, "Oh my goodness, I've listened to all of the episodes and I love it." And I think it has been a conduit for us to connect with our clients and some of the team from the past that we have somewhat lost touch with. So it's been exciting, and it's been so tangent to our 50-year anniversary celebration as well. We've heard from a lot of people talking about this 50-year milestone that we've had. So in our first discussion, you and I talked about the early history of LSI. What I want to talk about with you is the last 30 years. And I think for some people listening, that maybe that 30 years ago was ancient history, but it seems like it went by fast. And for me, it was, I can't believe it's been 30 years. So you have done, and you and your whole team have done such an amazing job of cataloging and looking at the history, the whole history, the 50-year history of LSI, looking at memorabilia. And I told you, I think the day that you started working with me, you said, what are all of these file cabinets? I said, yeah, those are all of the scrapbook and documents and things that I've saved over the last 30 years. I could just see your face.
Yeah.
What? And so you have done an amazing job, and that your whole team trying to cull through that information and really get a sense of the history of LSI. And you did an amazing job in preparing for this first episode of the podcast. What thoughts, observations, trends do you have, or maybe you have some questions from the last 30 years after I had acquired the company?
Yeah. So let me tell you, because that is true. I stepped into LSI with not a lot of information about you or the company, but it was an opportunity that I was interested in. So when I walked into the doors, I really had to learn the business. I had to learn really what our mission and values were. And now that I'm almost, coming on 3 years, I think I understand that now. So it's taken me this long to put it all together. But the last 30 years to me, when I was working with my team on developing that story and making it public, was learning what you did the day you walked into the building and you took the business over from the other four. And the first 20 years really was the labor of love to get the business going. And then what I've learned is from after the 20 years from your time on, it's how you have built the business. And one thing that I did not really know that I would like you to talk about, because I think it's important and I think it gets skipped over a lot, is you stepped into the business and started looking at acquisitions. And so we still today talk about acquisitions and the way to capitalize on that business. And when I started going through, from 20 on, there were a lot of acquisitions that I didn't understand. So I think it'd be valuable if you took a few minutes and talked about some of those acquisitions, because I know like Shipley is very dear to your heart. And I know some of those people are so very still dear to you.
Oh, that's a great place to start, Summer, as usual. Let me talk about the initial acquisition and what happened. So after I had joined the company, there was a significant change in the economy almost immediately. The five original principals had said, we don't want to continue. We don't want to keep doing this. What I had later learned, I didn't know this when I joined the company. I probably wouldn't have joined if I'd known this, but the five principals had this handshake and a pact that they were all going to go out together, that they came into it together. They were just going to walk away from this. This was never the plan. The plan wasn't to continue to function for 50 years. That was not the vision. It was, let's do something fun for 2 years and see what happens. Well, 2 years turned into 20 years. So when I joined the company was celebrating its 20-year anniversary at that time. What I didn't realize, and I thought, oh, well, this is a venerable brand. There's a lot of brand equity. There was the amount of content and innovation, and the history was, I was passionate about it. I saw it. What I didn't realize is that the principals were saying at that same time, we're leaving. We're going to really go and retire. And many of them had 30 years with the federal government and another 20 years with LSI. So it was a weird time. I put together a plan to buy the company from the principals, and I was shocked. I really did not anticipate that was going to happen. I was shocked that they said, yeah. And I think I just caught them at the right time, and the right time in the company's history, the right time in the market, the right time for me. And I was 22 years old and I didn't know anything. And I didn't know I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I think what was surprising, good and bad with that experience was that I put together a plan that I fully intended the principals to say, no way, what are you talking about? Get out of here. And they said, sure. I'd been working for a company before I worked for LSI. They'd given me some stock that gave me this stock in this company that had appreciated significantly. I had invested in some real estate at a young age that I mortgaged. And then I put together a plan on this is how I'm going to buy the company. And they said yes. So that set a trajectory for me where I started thinking, oh, we can grow through acquisition. And what was really interesting about this, I didn't know anything. I didn't know I should probably get an attorney involved. I didn't know that I probably should have the company valued. I didn't know that we should do a stock valuation of the company and build out a plan for integration. And I didn't know that. And it was so easy. Like I said, I don't want to simplify it. It wasn't, in retrospect, I put a lot of time into the acquisition of LSI as this young 22, 3-year-old kid. But so I put a lot into it myself. I just didn't know. I'd never done this. I didn't know the mechanics. I said, this is how I would structure it. So I thought this will be easy to grow this way. And we went through 15 acquisitions after I had acquired LSI. And you're right. It taught me so much. And again, like I said, I didn't know that I couldn't do it. We got good at it, I think, over the years. We acquired some really amazing brands that had a lot of these brands were trying to compete with us. And anytime I saw this competition or somebody that I thought, a company that I thought would be a good fit with LSI, I'd go out and work a strategy for acquisition. And so we did. We acquired K&A, and we acquired Eagle and Howe and DePriest Associates, and so many really great companies. And then what was fun for me is that a lot of times these companies were either competitors or tangent to what we were doing in the business. And so it gave me an opportunity to work with these really amazing people that taught me a lot. And you're right, we bought Shipley and other really fantastic, venerable companies in the market that taught us a lot. We did a lot of things wrong. We didn't know. And most of these individuals didn't know. They'd spent their time building a business. Many of them had never gone through an acquisition and they didn't know what to expect. And I think we got good over time in acquisition, which has been an important part of our growth. I look back and the history of the company, the real history of the company was that our growth was exponential because of the organic growth of the company. But we did grow rapidly, especially after I'd acquired LSI from the original principals. We did grow rapidly. I learned a lot. I had a lot of good practices that we adopted. A few months ago, I read this great book on the history of Genghis Khan and how he built the largest empire in the history of the world. And it's such a great book. I loved it. And one of his strategies was he really had an interest in learning about the culture and the people and best practices. And he would learn and then disseminate all of that information to the team. And so sometimes we did that well, and sometimes we did that horribly. And we've got these acquisitions that went really great and some acquisitions that went bad, just like in any business. But I don't regret any of them. I don't regret any of the acquisitions for the most part. I think that it taught me a lot about business, about my industry. I got to work probably more than anyone in our industry. I got to work with the leadership, the founders of this industry through working with these principals of these companies that we acquired, working with really great clients that we've had the opportunity to work with over the last 30 years. So I don't regret any of it. Yeah, there were some things that we learned and adopted along the way. And it was a big part of our culture. We were doing a lot. We were doing an acquisition a year. So yeah, does that answer the question? That was a great question, by the way.
Yeah,
so,
I think just like as life goes, you can look back and your vision is always 2020 in the past. And there's things that you wish you could have done different or better. But I'm saying that I read in all the archives letters from these acquisitions, these companies. I read most of the communication from them, and I think of it like this. I don't know. It's personal to me because it's like I think about my dad and my dad's legacy, and I kind of think of it the same way as you. Is when someone's like, "Oh, you're Dee's daughter," I always be like, okay, people are associating me to my dad, and that's so important to me. But when people are like, oh, you work for LSI, there is a connection with people and LSI that is so personal to me. And so it has been really, really fun to discover that. One other thing, because there are multiple tenets to the 30-year growth. Acquisitions is one that comes top of mind. Absolutely. But the other thing that I think is so important, and we continue to do it today, and it really is probably a core of our business, but I think about this all the time. We have such a good product and service offering that it's, to me, I'm like, I want to find all of the clients out there that need our business. So in tandem with acquisitions, I know that you were doing identification of clients that could benefit from our services. And I think that is a model that we obviously still do today and will continue to do forever. But I really do lay awake at night thinking, how can we get our products to these people? Because we have such a good system.
Well, I think that really goes along with the reflection of the last 30 years. For so long, we never had a marketing department. We never had any kind of guidance on organic marketing. We knew how to take our clients and help them grow their business. And we had this long history of doing that because we never needed to. We never had to do this. We never had a need for this. That we never spent any attention and resources on marketing. We never had a sales team. We never had, I did most of the sales for when I first came into the company. Really, what allowed me to acquire the company in reality was that I quickly came in and built relationships and brought clients in to the business that the principals had never seen before. The company had never seen that kind of exponential growth so quickly, organically. Most of it had been relationships, and that really is still to this day how most of our business is acquired, is through long relationships. I look at the best business development people on our team, both working for our clients and organic business development, working for LSI to grow the business. And it really is about their relationships. It's all, for the most part, it's rare that we start working with somebody that has never worked with us in the past, that doesn't know us, has not had some connection to us in some way. So how do we get to all of those people that need our help? I think a lot of what's happening with the market, where it's now anybody, anytime there was an interest in our business, I'd go see them. I would fly to New York. I would fly to Chicago. I would fly to Canada, to wherever. I'd go meet that client. We would spend time together. We would talk about how we are going to work together, and I'd come home with that business. We would then have that client for 30 years, for 20 years, for whatever. I mean, we've got a lot of those clients that we'll talk about in some episodes that we've had since I started with the company. That's unbelievable to have a client for that long. But I think that now so many of our clients want to meet virtually or not at all. A lot of the decision makers now are in their 20s and 30s, and they communicate differently. They have a different objective. A lot of our clients, a lot of the decision makers of our clients that we are interfacing with are saying, we're not going to meet with you directly. We want to drive this through text messaging. That is so foreign. Not the text messaging's foreign, but I mean, we've been doing text messaging for years now, right?
Yeah.
We've been doing this for a long time. What we have not been doing is saying, we are going to interface with our client over a text message. We are going to give our clients information that they need through a text message, through social media. That's very different. And I know that our team's struggling with some of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is true. And it kind of leads me to what I think we should talk about next is, this is another question I ask you all the time because I'm so interested in it, is what do the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years look for you? And how do you pivot in the market to keep LSI moving forward and, leading edge and doing everything that we need to do in this digital landscape? Like, that is a question I ask you all the time, is what is your vision? What is your strategy? And what things do we need to focus on as a company to keep us profitable and, leading in this industry?
That is something that I think about all the time. And it is going to be more about building cultures through virtual relationships. It is having some of the best members of your team that you will maybe never meet directly, that could be in Vermont, in rural Montana, in Alaska, and we're seeing this in our industry. And it is really about building that corporate fabric, that culture that is so critical to the next 30 years. And then also working with our clients, showing them how we are providing value and helping them be successful is critical. And it's going to be in new ways. It's going to be in very data-driven technology. There's a lot to this. One of the things that as we've put together our strategy, our top focus has been about our people, number one,
Yep.
and our technology, number two. And that covers a lot in the overall strategy of the company. It is, how do we interface with our clients? How do we interface with our people? How do we collaborate? How do we build on this 50-year legacy that we have for the next 50 years? And it is about investing in our people, investing in the infrastructure necessary to provide our team and our clients the tools that they need to be successful. That's what the next 30 years looks like. It's very different from how we interfaced with our clients, how we interfaced with our team, how we did business 30 years ago. And it's not just the technology. It is, how do we get good at working in a virtual environment that is successful, where we build these long 30-year relationships with individuals and with brands and with businesses.
My personal observation, just coming from a comms/marketing perspective, is we do have a good brand. LSI has a legacy brand and name. We have 50 years. We have a 50-year story. So when I think of my part in growing our business and my part in our strategy, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not really a business development, go out there and get the new business. But my responsibility is our message and our communication and our brand message. Like, I feel like that is how I'm going to help this company move forward, is by sharing our story and sharing our goals and our objectives and our mission and our people and our culture and why people want to work for LSI and what we have to offer and why we're the best and why we have survived in this industry. Like, that is my contribution, is telling that story to like everybody.
Love it. And you're right. It is. That's why I think this podcast media is so interesting and so relevant, is that it is allowing us to connect with a lot of new prospective individuals that are doing this working in our field and trying to create a career out of this very difficult discipline. It has allowed us to connect with our team who is around the world. It has allowed us to connect with a lot of our former clients and members of our team that we may have lost touch with. And I've heard from so many people that have said, oh my goodness, it was thinking back on that history and the time that they, as alum of LSI, the time that they spent with us was really remarkable. And that this podcast has given a lot of those individuals that opportunity that has been really great.
Okay, and then one last thing, and then we can go to the last topic that we want to talk about today. But I want people that are listening to this, or that will hear this, or listen to our message, like, it's important to me. Like, this is something I'm very passionate about. Is this business operates the way it does because we are a team, and the five before were a team, and so I am just wanting to say, like, LSI has provided so many people, clients and workforce, with, the security and the business. But as a team, there's different legs of our business, and we have to, and we need to continue to work together. Like, I just think about this all the time, how many skilled, talented people we have on our team, from research to business development to sales to marketing, accounting. I mean, all of our client teams, I have touched all of them over the last couple of months, and I'm so impressed with the talent. And so I personally want to capitalize on our talented people and empower all of us as a company to work so synergetic, because I feel like if we can work synergetic together and be a team that supports and like will work together, I just feel like our opportunities are endless. I feel like we will explode in good things.
I agree. And you're exactly right. This business is about our team, it is about working together. We cannot work in a silo. And there's been a lot of people that have thought that they could work in a silo, and that hasn't worked here. And
We are
I,
all connected, from sales to marketing to comms to
yes,
accounting to research. We are all connected in a
right.
circle. And I look at us like that, and I want us to grow our circle and get stronger, because I feel like that is going to be how we grow and scale and develop over the next couple, 20 years, is our team.
That's exactly right. And we have made that clear as part of our core values and strategy is you must work collaboratively. You must work in concert with your teammates, and that might be sales, it might be delivery, it might be accounting or Marcom or whatever the functional area is, and that is critical. And we've seen a lot of companies where that doesn't work and they're dysfunctional.
Mhm. So yeah, that's just on my mind. Like we just have so many talented people, so many people that are invested and care about OSI. And my voice is, I want us to all work in tandem, because I see that is our way to success, is our team, because we have very talented people.
I agree, and that really is the formula that has made us successful for 50 years. And any organization that has that kind of longevity and that can perpetuate a strategy or concept for decades, for as long as we have, that was the key from the beginning. And my advice to a lot of prospective employees to LSI is that that's critical, that you must collaborate. And there's a lot of egos in this business. And if you come into the organization with an ego, it's probably not going to work. If
Mhm.
you are not willing to collaborate, it's probably not going to work. And I would give that same kind of advice to our clients. I have given that advice to our clients over the years. You must work collaboratively. The clients that we have had for decades, for more than 2 or 3 years, are those clients where we're integrated as a team, working with the client for a common objective that's usually an objective that is quantitative. And we practice that internal to our organization. And you and I talk about that a lot. Is this individual the right chemistry for our team or not?
Yeah.
So, tied to that, let me ask you a question
Okay.
that I've been asked, interestingly, so many times in the last few months. And I've had a lot of our, especially people that have known us, known me, known the company for a long time, they have said, "Where did you find Summer? How is it that, I mean, you've got this great story that we're going to spend some time on in a future episode, Summer. So get ready for that." But I think it's been interesting that many people that know me, that have worked with the company and worked with me for years, have said, "Wow, this team between you and Summer is unlike anything that they've ever seen before." And that is not easy. I've joked for the entire 30 years that whoever is managing me has the worst job in the company. You always come back so vehemently and say, no, it's the best job in the company. But I can tell you, it's the worst job in the company. How is it that you work with me? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on working together.
So, yeah, I mean, this is another topic I could talk about for it's my career. It's like it's what I've built my life on. It's really what my passion is. So people have hobbies and passions, and it sounds really weird, but my passion has been my career. And I take it really serious because it's important to me, and delivering on my job is so important to me. But I do remember when I interviewed with you and we sat down and I talked to you and we were trying to figure out what our roles looked like together, and we didn't know each other, and I didn't know the business, and I didn't know how you worked, and I didn't know anything about your days or anything. But I do remember saying to you, I just need to do this all my way. Like, I need to come in, I need to understand it, but like, I don't really want to know what you did 2 years ago. I don't really want to know what you did 10 years ago. I want you to give me the leeway to learn it myself and do it my way. And you were very good with that. You said, yes, do it your way. So, I mean, it was hard, but it was a process that we went through. And I have the personality where I want to succeed. I want to deliver. So I learned you. I learned the business. I learned how you operate. I learned your strengths. I learned your weaknesses.
Yes.
I know when you need help. I know when you're good on your own. Like, I have just figured you out.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes it work.
I have never had someone that has collaborated with me so well. And what you just said there is exactly right, that you knew this was going to be a challenging position, and that I don't think that you came into this. I mean, we talked a lot about what to expect. I think you had a good understanding of what to expect, and then you said, here is my superpower. And I saw it, and your commitment to taking these ideas that I had and making them happen was magic for me. And I've loved that. It's been just incredible working with you, where you have this ability to anticipate what I'm thinking, what I'm going to need when I've had 10 straight days of working 20 hours a day, and you get that. And that's rare.
And I think that, there's the tactical part of the job that it's like the task driven, deliverable, whatever part of the job that I think you and I are on the same page with. But there is like this personable side of the job for me that I don't think I would be as successful in my job if I didn't feel like you empowered me to do my job. And that's one thing I do want to say. I feel like I am a creative person. I feel like I have good ideas, and I feel like I know the things that I personally want to accomplish in my career. And you probably are the first boss that's actually like listened to what I want to do. So that is to your credit. A lot of leaders don't listen. They want it their way. They want you to execute their vision. But the thing that's good about you with me is I will say, this is what I think we should try. This is what I think would work. And you have empowered your people to make good creative decisions. And I think that's built trust with me and you. I think it's built trust where you trust me and I trust you. And that is why I think we are so strong, is because it's not just the work that we do, but I really believe that we support and trust each other.
Well, and we had this, I think early on, we had this foundation that we built, this trust between us, that I also saw that I would give you a project and you were amazing at executing. And so this trust that we built over time came from this certainty and history that you and I built early on, that I said, wow, this is amazing. And I'd never seen anything. I'd never collaborated like that with anybody in my career. And then I was saying, great, let's build you into the strategy. I mean,
Yeah.
and you're such
Yeah.
an important part of our leadership team. And it's incredible working with you every day, Summer. And I love that you just understand because you're so embedded in my schedule and you see so much of being on the front line of the leadership team. You really have such a connection with the organization, with the market, with the team, that you can anticipate and plan and help me be successful. And it's awesome working with you. I love it.
Yeah, same with I do too. So I really do see us. I think that we're going to do great things together. I think we have the ability to do really great things together for this company. So
Summer and I had an event that we attended a few weeks ago, and her comment was, we're going to see this for the 100-year anniversary of LSI. And
yeah,
I hope that happens. It's been incredible. So as usual, Summer, you and I could have gone down a lot of different paths on this discussion, and we will. We're going to do some more of this, and this was really fun. I
yeah. Thanks.
appreciated this discussion with you, and I thought we didn't talk a lot about some of the events of the last 30 years, but I think the acquisition piece of it is critical. It's a part of our DNA, and it is an important part of the history of the company. So I appreciate you taking me down that path, and we'll find some time to explore some of these other topics. Anything else, Summer?
Nope, sounds good. It's always a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
If any of you have an interest in learning more about this episode, learning more about LSI or our work in business development, economic development, or social impact, you can find us in the episode notes. You can find us on every social media platform, and we'd love to talk with you about ideas and how we can help you achieve your business development objectives. Thanks again, Summer. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks. See you, everybody.